Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another book review on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and of course, we all know that any proper gentleman, certainly one who would wish to emulate the example of the inestimable Dr. Watson, carries a revolver in his waistcoat pocket. In particular, such a gentleman would carry a Webley revolver. Now, such a gentleman might run into trouble trying to figure out exactly what sort of Webley revolver he has, because there is a tremendous variety of Webley revolvers out there. And what resource such a gentleman might want would be one of these two books. These are both, they're not labeled as volumes 1 and 2, but they are in effect 2 volumes on a very similar subject. They're Webley solid frame revolvers, with one covering the numbers 1, 1.5, 2 Bulldog and Pug models, and the other covering the RIC, Royal Irish Constabulary, MP, Metropolitan Police, and number 5 models. So between the two, these provide a really good reference to identifying and understanding this whole slew of Webley civilian and police revolvers. Now, these are distinct from the military pattern guns, which are really the more common Webleys that we're familiar with. So guns like the Webley Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Instead, these are the generally smaller framed, although not always, but they're the non-military revolvers. And being civilian guns, they're much harder to catalog because Webley wasn't under any contractual requirement to maintain a specific pattern like they were with military guns. So they could sell 1,000 guns to the RIC and then turn around and sell that pattern on the civilian market and then change it to a different pattern or change features, make all sorts of weird serial number ranges, which they did, often in an attempt to make it look like they were making more guns than they actually were making, to make the guns look more popular. One often, when dealing with guns like this, you'd look at it and go, you know what, boy, I wish instead of trying to figure out every little rule and exception and variation, I wish I could just take every single one of these guns I can find and just put them all in a catalog. And so instead of trying to read out the rules, you can just look at every different example and you can see what things change, and then you can take any other gun that you happen to come across and compare it to the examples and use that as your identification guide. Well, that is how these books are set up. There is minimal text in these. There's just enough to explain really the most important elements of what changed and why, and what was a number 1 versus a number 1.5 versus a number 2, what was the RIC, that sort of thing. Why, what calibers were used. Even on some of those questions, there's not very much written textually in the book. However, these books are loaded. They're literal catalogs of examples, hundreds of guns in each book, all color photography, and the photography is actually pretty good. There are a few instances where markings on the gun can be hard to read, but that's not so much the fault of the photography as it is a simple effect of the guns being old and worn and often hard to read with the naked eye as well. So really a very cool reference and index. These are some of the guns, especially, well, the other one that would come to mind would be very similar Belgian revolvers of about this same time period, late 1800s, early 1900s, that are so difficult to nail down the exact identity and date on. Well, Webley was a bigger shop than some of the little Belgian producers, but these two books do a fantastic job of allowing you to understand and identify Webley, basically Webley pocket and police revolvers. So both of these are published by Schiffer. They share Joel Black as a co-author with 2 other separate co-authors on each volume. Each of them, they are each $100 retail price through Schiffer. I took a look on Amazon right before I filmed this, and I was able to find this guy, the RIC and MP volume, on Amazon for a little bit less, but I couldn't find this guy, the number 1, 2 Bulldog and Pug version, available on Amazon at all. So I'll include the Amazon link for this in the description, but they are both in stock at Schiffer Publications. So if you are looking to understand Webley revolvers, this is an inestimable resource. If you're not, it's probably not the sort of thing you want to spend a couple $100s on, but a very cool resource, and I'm very happy that the authors put these together. If for no other reason than they allow me to identify definitively what my little number 2 450 caliber Webley Bulldog is. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow with another video.